Noah sat at the corner of the cafe, the smell of roasted beans rising like a ritual offering. Around him, laptops hummed and conversations blurred into the familiar chorus of productivity. Everyone was busy. Everyone was building something. Every sentence was a pitch, a transaction, a step towards some future validation. He watched as people measured their lives in metrics, engagement, growth, return on investment. They spoke in the language of optimization, or even kindness was a form of networking and passion was rebranded as personal branding. But Noah heard something else beneath the polished noise. The hesitation between words, the quiet exhaustion in smiles, the faint sound of souls negotiating their worth. He saw the way ambition had replaced curiosity, how authenticity had become a marketing angle, how people didn't create because they loved something, but because they feared being forgotten. This is the story of the identity-driven, the ones who move not for applause, not for profit, but because silence feels dishonest. It's not a self-help tale, it's an observation, a diagnosis, a mirror held up to a world that has forgotten how to act without agenda. In the age of transaction, every gesture carries a receipt. We post to be seen. We speak to be shared. We love to be loved back. Even rest has become content. We no longer do things for their own sake. We do them for outcome, for evidence. But there was a time when action was sacred, when the act itself was the meaning. The craftsman carved not for display, but for devotion. The poet wrote to make sense of the ache. The athlete ran not for medals, but because running itself was a kind of prayer. Somewhere along the line, we begin to sell what once made us human. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote that he who has a why to live can bear almost any how, but the modern self doesn't have a why, it rids one. It borrows purpose from trends and calls it meaning. It treats identity as an accessory, not a vow. The result is a quiet spiritual corrosion. People chase validation the way addicts chase high. They scroll, they compare, they curate, they feel important for a moment, then empty again. The transactional life is seductive. It promises certainty, predictable returns, a sense of control, but the cost is authenticity. You begin to bend yourself to what sells. You trade curiosity for efficiency, integrity for influence. Carl Jung called this process identification with the persona, the mask we wear to meet society's expectations. He warned that when we confuse the mask for the self, the soul withers. We begin to act roles we no longer remember auditioning for. The world rewards these masks. It praises the polished, the consistent, the marketable. But the deeper self, the part that creates, questions, and burns, has no interest in being branded. To live by identity instead of transaction is to break the spell. It's to remember that the point of art is not fame. The point of love is not reward. The point of living is not performance. It's to do things without witness, to run without recording, to write without posting, to care without calculating. The transactional self asks, what will this get me? The identity-driven self asks, what does this make of me? That's the dividing line. One seeks profit, the other seeks integrity. The transactional self treats life as a market. The identity-driven self treats it as a covenant. There's a strange irony at work. The more we chase external validation, the further we drift from internal alignment. The applause we seek starts to echo back as emptiness. The philosopher Kierkegaard wrote about the despair of the self that cannot be itself. He called it the sickness unto death. To live in bad faith, to play the part society rewards while betraying your own essence, is a form of quiet suicide. The tragedy is that despair looks like success. In offices, studios, and gyms across the world, people are performing their lives. They speak of building their brand, scaling their presence, optimizing their output. The vocabulary of economics has replaced the language of meaning. We have become entrepreneurs of our own soul. But meaning is not scalable. Purpose is not a business plan. And a self that is constantly performing will eventually simply forget how to be. To act from identity is to not reject success. It is to place truth above transaction. It is to do what is right even when it costs. It is to move as if your actions were prayers carved into the fabric of reality. The runner runs because the motion is holy. The builder builds because his hands remember. The thinker writes because silence demands translation. To do it because it's who you are is to reclaim agency from a world that confuses value with visibility. In psychology, there's a term called intrinsic motivation. It describes actions that are done for their own sake, not for external reward. Children are masters of it. They draw not to sell the drawing. They run not to train for anything. They do because the doing is joy. Somewhere along the line, adults forget. They've been to ask what everything is worth, how it can be leveraged, how it will look. The tragedy isn't that we grow up, it's that we forget how to play. Identity is not a brand, it's a devotion. It's the artist painting after failure, the teacher staying late for a single struggling student, the friend showing up without reason. It's the refusal to measure everything. To live by identity is not easy. It means giving up control. It means accepting that not everything can be explained or monetized. It means that moving through the world as yourself, even when that self isn't profitable. It's the quiet rebellion of choosing meaning over metrics, essence over image. You can feel the difference. Transaction feels anxious. Identity feels alive. Transaction exhausts you. Identity renews you. Transaction asks, what can you extract? Identity asks what you can embody. And in that shift, everything changes. When you stop chasing outcomes, life stops being a negotiation. You stop performing connection and start experiencing it. You stop trying to look whole and start becoming whole. This isn't philosophy. It's physics of the soul. What you align with, you become. The world doesn't need more success stories. It needs more people who remember why they began. People who run because they love the wind. People who create because they can't stay silent. People who do what they do not for gain, but because it's who they are. The transactional world will not understand them. It will call them naive, inefficient, unscalable. But they will sleep with clear hearts. There will come a moment when no one is watching. No one is clapping. No one is keeping score. That moment will reveal who you really are. Will you still do it? Will you still care? Will you still move as if meaning itself depended on your next step? Do it because it's who you are. Because when all else fades, that's what remains. Not the outcome, not the proof, not the applause. Only the act. Only the truth. Only the self that refused to sell its soul for attention. That's where freedom begins.